How do you find meaning in your life? How do you find something that is actually driving you forward, that you really want to do, that you're passionate about, if you just don't have that? In this episode of the Positive Regression Podcast, I'm going to give you some tools and techniques that you can use to answer exactly that question, to figure out what your purpose is, what's something that's going to give you that sense of meaning in your life. So if you're someone who's feeling stuck, you're feeling like you're going to work and really not enjoying it, feel like you're just wasting your time and your potential, but you don't know how to figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing, something better that you could be doing, then this podcast is going to be for you. I was having a conversation with somebody and they said to me, well, like, it's great that you've found your purpose. It's great that you've found your why, what you're supposed to be doing in life, and that it fires you up, and that you have all of these ideas and creativity that keeps popping up and you can pursue. But my brain doesn't work like that. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my time. I don't know what I'm passionate about. So if that sounds like you, maybe this podcast episode will help. So I wanted to start out by giving you one of the most powerful tools that you can use. And it is really simple. It's basically just to ask yourself what it is that you should be doing with your time. The thing is, we have so much mental capacity, but most of it is unconscious. And we go through life only paying attention, obviously, because that's all we can do, to our consciousness, the thoughts that we have in our head that we can hear. But we have this whole other realm, this whole other processing power plant, if you will, that is our unconscious mind, our subconscious. And that part of our brain is working all the time on all sorts of different problems that we've given it consciously or unconsciously. And when we start to utilize that and to make use of the fact that we have this incredibly powerful device in our heads that is working 24/7, then we can start to get the answers to some of these questions that we can't consciously comprehend or consciously solve. So how do we do that? How do we actually start to harness the power of our unconscious mind, or subconscious, I should say? There's two times where we have the easiest access to our subconscious. That is just before we go to sleep and just as we wake up. And that's due to the way that our brains shift through different wavelengths. And so the best thing you can do is you can journal, for example, but you can also just do this in your head as a mental exercise, is to ask yourself, well, what is it that I want to be doing with my life? What could I be doing? You lie there just before going to bed and you ask yourself in complete humility, what can I do with my life that would bring me meaning? And you tell your subconscious, you speak to it as if it's another person, basically. So I want to know the answer to this question. So you go away and you work on this while I'm asleep, and I'll listen to the answer when I wake up. Ask yourself the question, what could I be doing with my life that would bring me fulfillment? And then while you're asleep, your brain, your subconscious will work away at that challenge. Now, what most people don't do is they might ask themselves that question, but then they don't listen out for the answer. And the trouble with the subconscious is it can be very quiet, tends to whisper to us rather than shout. And so if you're too busy with distractions and too busy consuming content on Instagram, constantly shoving new information into your brain, then you're not going to hear those whispers of the solutions to the questions and the challenges that you've posed. So what you need to do is to allow space and allow time and allow silence in order to hear those answers. Going for long walks in nature is a great way of doing it. Don't have headphones in, don't be listening to music, don't go on your phone. Just walk. And you can ask yourself again at the beginning of the walk that question that you've posed and that you want the answer to. And then just start to pay attention to what comes. Listen out, be curious about the answer. A lot of the times we have these preconceived notions of what we think would bring us meaning. So we don't know what we don't know what we'd find meaningful and what would give us a sense of purpose, but then we sort of think that we do know. And the trouble with that is that when something pops up into your mind pushed forward from your subconscious, whispers a little something in your ear, so to speak, you shrug it off. You think, no, that's not it. That's a waste of time. And you're not open enough to explore that possibility. And what you might find is by being humble and curious and exploring what it is that has been suggested to you by your subconscious, is that you might start to notice like, actually, you know what? That's not a bad idea. That could be something worthwhile. Or I can see how that might relate to other things that I want in my life. But you have to have that curiosity. You've got to be open to the answer. And the answer is usually not going to be what you want or what you think you want, let's say. So remaining humble and curious and asking yourself those questions is a really powerful way to move towards finding your purpose. There is a process to this. And it won't happen instantly, right? This is a process, a repetitive process. Every evening, just pose yourself that question. Every day, give yourself some time to listen for the answers. The shower is another great way or another great place to hear the answer. There's a reason that so many creative ideas come to people in the shower. It's because you've got this like white noise happening in the background and no distractions, unless you're showering with your partner, in which case, different story. But when you're showering alone, you don't have music playing, that's a great time to listen out to what your subconscious might suggest. The next thing I would say is that pay attention to what bothers you in life. A lot of the time, the meaning that we can find in our lives is through solving the problems that we face, the things that nag us all the time. And that's because the fact that it's nagging you, that it's bothering you, that something is cropping up in your perception and your conscious is pointing it out to you, is your conscious calling to you. It's saying, look, here's something of potential value. Here's something that could be worthwhile pursuing. And so a lot of the time, the meaning that we find in life is through solving those problems that we perceive. There's those things that keep popping up. And so it's worthwhile paying attention and noticing the things that bother us on a consistent basis. And then, of course, it's not just good enough to spot the things that bother us, but to then start asking yourself, well, what's a potential solution? How could I solve this in my own unique way? Because the likelihood that the problem that's showing up can be solved in a unique way that is unique to you is highly likely. Those things they're your problems, they're your challenges, and they are there for your skill set in particular. And when we're curious enough and start to look at what our own gifts are and what we can offer as far as a solution goes, then we might realize that actually we're perfectly primed and we're perfectly suited to solve this problem. So worthwhile considering. A lot of the times I think that, especially if you're relatively high in neuroticism, you don't have a whole lot of perhaps self-worth and doubt your own ability, is that something will pop up and you think, oh, that's a problem, but who am I to solve that problem? How could I possibly be capable of solving that problem? And so we then tend to push that away and go on living our, wretched lives. We sort of drudge on with our jobs that we don't like and going to work and continuously asking ourselves, oh, what should I be doing with my life? I should be doing something else. Meanwhile, you're completely ignoring the opportunity that has presented itself to you because you believe that you're incapable. Now, I have other trainings and coaching that is available to you if that's something that you suffer from, feeling like you're not capable of tackling the challenges of life. But there's a conversation for another day. Of course, if you're interested, feel free to reach out and we'll figure out a solution for you. So the next part is to understand that meaning comes from outside of ourselves. What I mean by that is we can serve our own selfish goals. Let's say I just really want to be rich for rich's sake. I really want to get that nice car. I really want to get that nice house. Well, all the evidence shows, and there's been countless case studies of this, is that you reach those goals and it doesn't bring you any fulfillment. You might get the car and you'll be happy for 5 seconds, and then all of a sudden you're back to feeling pretty bummed about your life. Meaning is found when we serve other people. And the more people we can serve, the more meaning that we derive from our lives. So if you're asking yourself, or you're wondering, what can I do with my time and my energy that's going to feel worthwhile? Think about who you can help. Don't think about how you can help yourself, because you're going to struggle there to find something that's actually motivating and that you're really passionate about. The people that go out to create incredible businesses, do amazing things in life, they do so because they're passionate about helping other people. They want to solve a problem for lots of other people, as many people as possible. And that's what drives them, and that's what sustains them on that really usually challenging, difficult journey. Is like, okay, this is really, really hard, but it's not for me, it's for somebody else, and therefore I'm going to keep on going. Now, that leads on to another point, which is the most meaning we can find is through doing the hardest things. So there's a reason that people say that having children or raising children, having children's, well, not that hard for guys, I suppose, but raising children is a different story. There's a reason that people say that raising children is the most meaningful thing that they have ever done with their lives, but also the hardest thing. You talk to athletes or anybody who's done something incredibly challenging, somebody who's built a successful business, it's the difficulty that has brought the meaning. The fact that you could keep, it's perhaps one and the same. So it's not that it's because it's difficult, it's meaningful, but also because it's meaningful, it's difficult. Not sure if that makes sense, but essentially what I'm trying to get at is that you want to do something difficult, and the difficult things that you actually want to do, you want to do because they bring you meaning. Hopefully that makes sense. The last thing I want to say is that you don't have to have everything figured out. What you do have to have is that curiosity. You have to be open to hearing a possible solution. It's no good saying, well, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm passionate about. And then not searching for the answer. Because you'll start to build up a feeling of resentment, or resentment towards yourself primarily, because you know that you're not actually giving it your all. You're not going out and living life and doing the things that you want to do. But you'll also then start to externalize that resentment, because you're feeling resentful towards your own inability to act on the challenges of life and what might bring you meaning. You start becoming resentful towards other people, and especially those who are going out and achieving great things. We see this happening quite a lot in today's world, with the resentment towards successful entrepreneurs and businessmen and competent individuals. People become very, very resentful towards these individuals because it's a reflection of their inadequacy in a way. It's reflecting back to them that they're not doing what they could be doing and should be doing. And that's very uncomfortable. And so if you want to avoid becoming a resentful person, then you need to start acting on these cues, these signals from your unconscious, from your perception, that are telling you, hey, you need to be doing something else. And the fact that you're feeling and you're asking yourself at the moment, what should I be doing with my life, is a sign that you're not doing the right thing, right? If there's constantly that nagging feeling in the back of your mind and in your gut that you're not living up to your potential, that you're not doing the right thing, you're not in the right place, that is a sign that you need to do something else. That is your conscience calling, and you need to pay attention to it, because it won't go away. It'll just turn ugly. The other thing to note is that if you're really stuck, if you're standing still in one place and you're just asking yourself constantly the question like, what do I do? What do I do? And you're not making any progress, pick a direction. Start doing something, because you won't find your path by standing still and squinting. You'll find your path and your purpose by moving forward and then reorienting the way that you're going. And it's usually by taking action that we realize whether that action, that direction was in line with what we want out of life or in the wrong direction. So if you're feeling stuck, pick something. And once you've moved towards that goal, ask yourself, okay, is this in the right direction, or do I need to shift course a bit? So quick recap on the process of finding purpose. Journal evenings and mornings, asking yourself, what can I be doing with my life that is going to bring me meaning? Go for long walks in peace and quiet. Pay attention to the signals that are being sent, those ideas that crop up. Reflect on and pay attention to the things that constantly pop up in your life that bother you. That can be a sign that that's a solution that you need to provide, a challenge that you need to tackle. Look at how you can serve others as much as possible. Meaning is to be derived from outside of ourselves and by serving other people. And take on the biggest challenge you can find. And ideally, a challenge that the pursuit of is going to help you achieve multiple other aspects of your life, or multiple other goals that you have in your life. So for example, if you want to have a financially abundant life, well, pick a challenge that is also going to lead you towards financial abundance. If you're interested, I've created a PDF with these tools and others that you can use in your life today, and you can get that for free. The link to the download is in the description below. And of course, if you haven't already, please hit the like, follow, or subscribe button on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, wherever you're listening. It really helps get this show and this message out to as many people as possible. You know, what brings me purpose and meaning in my life is helping as many people as I can to access and utilize their potential and to start creating a life that they really want to live. Of course, if you know somebody who's also feeling stuck, who is struggling to find meaning and purpose in their life, then please send this episode to them. I'm sure they'll thank you for it. And other than that, I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Feel free to check out that PDF below. And of course, if you need more help with confidence and with accessing your potential, feel free to reach out. I've got some offers and some solutions for you. All right, can't wait to see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.